Hey everyone, it's Amador, and I've been kindly invited to do a couple of videos here on the Greeting Farm channel, so I'm super excited, and they will also be airing on my channel, which is Amador Eros, AMADOREROS, and follow me also on Instagram with the same name. Today I will be using these stamps, these three sets of stamps. It is the Magical Friends, Say Birthday, and Mon Amie Anya. I wanted to do a Chanel-inspired birthday card, so come with me and I will go ahead and show you guys the process. Now it is a voiceover, but I hope you guys like it. I'm totally inspired by the Mon Amie Anya. It totally reminded me of Coco Chanel. So go ahead and come along with me. So these are the stamps that I'm using. I'm using the Mon Amie Anya, the Say Birthday sentiment stamp, and also the Magical Friends friend part. I normally like to stamp my stamps on Copic Espresso marker with Memento black ink, but I also have a stack of scratch paper just to help me get a better of a stamp impression. So I'm going to go ahead and start coloring with my Copics. Now, I still consider myself a very beginner Copic colorer. So right now I'm actually going to start with the hat. I want it to be a white hat. Like I said, I was inspired by Coco Chanel. So with the white hat, I use C00, C1, and C3. And here I am. I started out with the C00, a little bit of the C1, and then I add a little bit of the C3 and the corners and the areas that I would expect to have a little bit more shade than because when you want to do a white item, you want it to have a little bit of a shadow, so that way it brings out the white a little bit more. And here I am just adding a little bit more of the C00 to blend everything out and make it look smoother, to have a better transition into the white. Now I'm going to address all of the darker colored areas. I'm using N2, N4, N6, and N8. I am doing this for the black color. Now I've learned from Folly that you don't want to go ahead and just color it all in black. You want to do it. You want to start shading it for it to get to the darker portion of what you want. Now, if you notice, all of my Copic markers, they basically skip a number. That way I was able to get more Copics, and I can always go ahead and touch the tips to get the middle color or find myself in the center way that I'm looking to get. So here I am. I'm starting from the edges of this. I want it to look like one of those black satin ribbons on a hat. And I will start with the hat, with the band on the hat. As I get closer, I will leave that white space. Now, I'm still learning on making sure I keep from just coloring it all in with my lighter color, so I can have that white space, so I can make it look more of a light effect, more of a shine when it happens on your item. And as you see here, now I'm adding the N8, and it gets a lot darker. It gets a lot darker, and I have to be very careful with the little ribbon, what is it, the fishtail bannered ribbon. Sorry, I'm obviously a little nervous. So I go down to start with the boots, and I want to start with the sides and also the little sash on the dress. The colors that Chanel usually uses are white, black, beige, sometimes gold, and a little bit of red sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and try to give her some red patent leather boots. Some black patent leather boots. And that way and I want to leave the center part because I want it to follow the same light source that the hat has, where it's more towards the front or above. So I'm leaving a little bit of that white space on the sash in the center and also on the boots. Now I'm going to go ahead and now start with the purse, which I'm also doing. I originally wanted to have just different shades of black, but I decided to saturate it all and with all of the colors that I use, and then go ahead and also add, cover it completely with N8. And you'll see where I'm going for because of my inspiration that I'm doing this with. I'm going to now take the white jelly pen and let's say, here's my little trick. If you didn't get a perfect shiny area or light source area, you'll see I'm using the white jelly pen to kind of do several little dashes where you would want the light source to be, and once you add those, it gives it more of a pop. So in this rests on top of the ink, so it gives you more of that your little correction for your light source. Now, of course, you guys know I could not get away without making this the quilted leather pattern, since I've already covered it in N8. Now I am using the white jelly pen, and you have to remember I brought in the image of the stamp so I can have the inspiration exactly where the lines are to make sure, because I did color all over it. And you want to do each section separately, and that way you can see my finished purse right there. You want to do each section, the top of the purse, the base of the purse, and the side of the purse, because each one will have its own independent section, and that way you can have a full Chanel inspired purse. So I'm going to go ahead and now move on to the skin. I'm going to use E quadruple zero, E triple zero, E01, E0, and for the little bit of blush on the cheeks, I'm using R30. Now, I typically use R20, but R30 is a little bit lighter for me, so I don't have to worry about having that really stark pink line on the cheek where it's easier to blend out. It's easier for me to blend out. And we go ahead, and I just want to saturate the edges first where you would have the shadows, and then come on in and add the E01, E00. I've gone ahead and also accented the eyebrows and a little bit of the nose. And just a little bit of a slash, a little dash down the middle of the face, just to kind of give her more of an expression of a nose. Because when we get all happy and we get a new purse or whatever, you get excited and your nose kind of crinkles up. So I wanted to give it that little effect. It'll lighten up a little more when I add the quadruple and E triple zero to the face. And I'm at the same time, see, to save time and effort, I'm going to go ahead and do the neck, the hands, and the skin in the same order, in the same fashion. That way you get the shades at the same time and you don't forget a shade, because sometimes I've forgotten to like color in an ear or an arm. So once that is done, we are moving now to the hair. And on the hair, I'm using E11, E01, E13, and E35. Now, I wanted to use the E01 to have a lighter color just to start saturating the hair. And I've gone ahead and added that to my little color repertoire here. And I'm gone ahead now, I'm going to go and do the E11 to start doing the little feather, the light feather slashes where so you can create the hairline, create the hair texture. And I'm continuing to leave a lighter space in the center for it to show the light, for it to have the light source. And I'm still going with the above light source, and it's facing a little bit different from the hair, because if you think about it, the hat is tilted a little bit farther back than the hair in front of Anya's head. So I'm still using that, and I'm going in now with the E35 to add the darker accents of the hair. And I want it to be like little bit of a strawberry blonde kind of hair tone going on. And I start from the base of the neck on both sides to make sure I have that shadow of her head. And I just continue to add in light brush strokes with my Copics to give more of the accents. And when I usually color, I will also then go back through the medium color or go back to the lighter color to try to blend everything out and get a more of a saturated look. So I committed a few little boo-boos, and I've gone ahead and grabbed my the colorless blender. I like to use the chisel tip, and what I do is go in quick motions left and right around close to the line that I've gone over, because it'll saturate, and you want to then go little by little. It might not cover it the first time that you go around, but go ahead, let it dry, and then try it again, and you will see the color of whatever little times that you went out of the lines. It will completely take care of that. So now I've gone on to the dress. Now in the dress, I wanted it to have a beige tone to it, and I'm using E40, E42, and E43. Now the smaller the dress is a little bit challenging because it's not fully visible because of the arms and the purse, but I just go section by section, and I try to make sure that I have my shadowing, I think of my shadows and everything on the dress. Now on the dress, I'm not going to have really very much bright areas because it is under everything, but I will have a little darker sections on the shoulders, on the little cap, on to add little ruffles, to have accents to little ruffles. And that, as you can see, the little dashes that I do with the darker colors around the edges, around the bottom of those sections, and where the ruffles are, to give it more of a to give it a better look on and make the ruffles look more realistic. As you can see the light source on it where it's lighter in certain areas, but I didn't want to leave white spots. white sections because I wanted it to look more like a natural fabric. Now I am going to do a little bit of the heart, and I'm using on the heart R08, R20, R27, and R29. I start from the outside going in so I can saturate my heart, and these colors bleed as well, so you have to be very cautious to make sure that they don't bleed out and you have just all stuff over her little hat. And once I go over it completely, I fill the rest of it in with the R8. Now, since it's such a small section and it didn't leave many white spaces, I went ahead and went with my white jelly pen to add little accents to the curves of the heart where the light would be reflecting most. Now, to give it more of a patent leather look to our little Chanel inspired purse, I'm going to head and add just a little bit, a thin layer of glossy accents to the purse, and then I also wanted to do accents on the heart as well. Just a little bit, not, you don't want it very thick. I just wanted to have a little bit of sheen, a little bit of shine. And now that this is ready, we're going to go ahead and just put it aside, let it dry because you want the glossy accents to dry. And I'm going to go ahead and use 110-pound heavyweight cardstock to make my card base. This is going to be a 5 1/4 by a 5 1/4 card. And I'm going to make the base 5 1/4 by 10 1/2, so I can then bring in my scoreboard and just score it at 5 1/4 to go ahead and make a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 card. And it fits perfectly. Now what I do is you can take any of your square dies, and I'm seeing where my little Anya is going to go, and I just run it through my Big Shot to give a space. I wanted a section because I want it to look like she's shopping down a lane with several boutiques, and this is at the corner of one of the shops. So I now want to get, once I cut that out, after using my ruler as a guide to give me kind of a window space, I cut out an acetate piece, which comes out to be 4 1/2 by 2 3/4 to go behind that. Now this window is going to hang open. It's going to start on that end. I'm not going to have like a full window because since it is a Chanel inspired little boutique shop, you really can't use the full name of the full shop, so I'm going to do a little optical illusion so it looks like she is walking, gives it more motion. She is walking through a little boutique area, and we have this shop where it's starting to go in front of the shop. So now I've adhere it with some score tape to the back, and we can now move on to the little shop. Now this is a little awning. This is the shop canopy and awning, which is typically white with a black border, or white depending on which shop it is. Now the white part is 2 1/4 by 3/4 of an inch, and the black part is 2 3/8 by 7/8. Now I went ahead and glued it with my adhesive, and then I realized that since it was going to be, you're starting to go towards the shop, it wasn't going to have that black border on the whole thing. So I just cut off one of the edges that was going to face the section where the window is open as well. I'm going ahead and just go ahead and use some of this 3M mounting tape that I have a huge roll of, so I can make that little section for the awning. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the sentiment, and I want it to have the same look, like it also looked like an awning for a boutique or a sign in this little chic shopping boutique area. I'm going to go ahead and mask the bottom part of the birthday stamp, which is, it says happy birthday to you. So I go ahead and mask it off with just a little sticky pad. Go ahead and do that. And for the Magical Friends, I want to go ahead and also mask off the S for the friends part. So it just says happy birthday, friend. In all actuality, I could have just left it to say happy birthday, but I wanted to add a little bit more sentiment. I wanted to get a little bit more use out of my cards, so you can see how you can combine these sentiment stamps with the other stamps. So I'm stamping that, trying to find my location right under there, and I go ahead and now I'm going to, and I grab the card again to kind of get the inspiration. I want to see about where I'm going to have this sentiment, and I cut it down. The sentiment actually ends up being 2 1/2 by 1 3/8 for the white section, and then for the black cardstock part, it is 2 5/8 by 1 5/8 for the backing, because I wanted it to look like the sign in the little boutique. So here's a little lazy way I do it as well. I just go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of the sentiment, glue it to a piece of cardstock, and then I just freehand around a little border so you can have it set up. And I wanted it to look, I liked how it looked, the awning looked on one side, so I wanted this to look like she was passing a boutique and going towards another one. Go ahead and just add the mounting tape. Now I'm not adhering those at the moment to the card because I just want to have them ready for when it is time to finish my card. So I'm just adding the mounting tape to the back of the front of the card to make sure, I want to make sure I have tape all the way to the edges, this mounting tape all the way to the edges, because one edge is going to be just standing on its own, and most of it is acetate. So I'm going ahead and just adding a little bit there. So now I was naughty. I went online and I looked at the logo for the Chanel shop. I went ahead and brought it into my Cameo to make a cut. All you can literally do also is just get a specific font. I think it's like a Gothic something so font. Make the letters, make the C, flip it backwards, because I'm not using the full font. The full Chanel logo, as you guys will see when I'm done in a minute. I'm just adhering with my quick dry Scotch adhesive and to the back of the little letters, and I'm using the awning as a little placement area so I can see where I am putting the letters. I just tucked it underneath the acetate to give me kind of a straight line to make it look more professional. So I just added the NEL. Now at the towards the end, I did add the A, but I forgot I wasn't recording. My battery died. So here we're adding the actual logo for the shop, and I'm only putting adhesive on half of it. So all you will see is part of the logo. So see, there you go. And that way, we are good kids again. We keep away from legal issues. I know it's naughty, but I couldn't help it. I really wanted to make this Chanel-inspired purse and card. So, but we're not using all of it. We're just using part of it. Like I said, just use any font that you have, a basic Gothic font on your computer or on your die cut machine or your cutting machine. So here I am. I just took off the backings for the mounting tape. I added it to the base of the card, and then I'm starting to add the items, and of course I realized that I did not cut out my Anya, and that is when I'm like, wait, we gotta cut it up. So here we are, and I'm just going ahead. When I do cut my images, I don't have the die for this at the moment, for this stamp, but they do come with the die. There's a die available, I use my very sharp scissors, and I move the paper more than I move my scissors, and then I just go around. I go at a little bit of an angle if I can, but you can't always. Now when I do cut between the legs, I will usually cut the right side and then go up the left leg and to the right where I meet it, because if not I end up like messing up one of the legs. And here I am just cutting through the hair. I'm cutting right at the edge of the stamped image, because once it is cut up and we are ready set, I then go in with, since we use Memento ink, I go ahead and use my Memento marker, and it has a brush and a fine tip, and I just go around the border and to make sure that it makes it look more professional instead of a white edge on it showing. And then it is completely ready, and it's really easy, especially with that brush tip, to go through like little curls of hairs and tendrils and whatnot. So here I am trying to figure out the placement. I'm touching the acetate to make sure it is dry, because you can always mess it up when you're adding it to your card. So I'm just adding the mounting foam in several pieces because I want to make sure that it stands up as a solid. Even the itty bitty legs, I add a little bit of strip of that mounting foam, so I can make sure that the legs don't aren't folded or moved or turn off when you take it out of an envelope. So here is the finished card, and I decided, you know what, I still need something to go inside. So I wanted to take the inspiration from the sentiment for the happy birthday friend sentiment and add another sentiment inside, but I wanted to mount it, excuse me, on a little black frame as well. So I go ahead, and this is the first time I've used the have an amazing day. So I go ahead and I stamp it onto a white cardstock, and I'm still using the same cardstock. I cut it down. Look, on the other end of this one, I actually stamped off one time to test my stamp. So I go ahead and cut it out, and then I go ahead and grab the black paper, and I'm going to do again what I did is I just added to the corner kind of a spacing that I want so I can have the sentiment. And I just go ahead and with my ATG gun go ahead and add it to the inside of my card. Now it has a sentiment outside and a little sentiment inside. Now here are some final shots of my Coco Chanel inspired birthday card, and I just want to add that all of the items that I used will be linked in the description, so you guys can head on over to the Greeting Farm shop so you guys can get those for yourselves as well. I just want to thank again everybody at the Greeting Farm for your beautiful stamps and for having me today. And I hope you guys like everything. Follow me on my channel, Ometer Arrows, and I will talk to everybody soon. Thank you. Bye, everyone.